In the gym and in the car, with our advice you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. We talk about our sexy dates. We host events and we go to clubs. But most of all, we're still in love. It's getting hard for this to rhyme just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time. Whoa, it's bed hopping time. Whoa, it's bed hopping time.
Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name is Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today. We have got some fantastic topics to talk about today, and we've got some boring life stuff for us, and we've got other things just to cover.
Yeah.
So this is like a general catch up and focus on a couple of things.
Yeah.
First, before we get into like the topic of today, because the topic of today is going to be like open house.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've finally watched season 3.
Yeah.
We've done that one, but we're going to come back to that in a second.
Very polarizing.
But very polarizing, probably polarizing for us for different reasons as well. But, that's not what we're going to be doing first. No. First off, I just kind of wanted to do a bit of an update because I think over the last few episodes, the ones where we've been talking about our stuff, it sounded a bit like things are a bit shit. Now, I just want to put some context to this and talk a little bit about why that might be the case and kind of where our heads are at. And also talk about some of our home life as well, because we overshare.
Of course.
So it's
all context.
It's all context. And it might help you if you've listened to the last few and if you've got in touch with us to kind of get a bit of a picture about where we're at, where our heads are at, and where we've been over the last couple of months.
Do you want me to cover the biblically shit catastrophe? Catastrophe.
Well, yeah. So first up, I mean, the first thing that's been going on for us, certainly there's more recent in the last couple of weeks more than anything else. So we got a new member of the household, as we said. We have Megatron the kitten, who has joined Noodles the cat and Yoko the dog in our menagerie.
In our little trinity.
And well, there's 5 of us in the house now.
Yeah.
And I think everything had been kind of going well. I think Megatron, or Meg as we've taken to call her, has been getting on quite well with the other pets. Yoko was scared of her, but she's,
that's fine.
Yeah, she's a whirling pterodactyl of a kitten, which is fine. And Noodle has been even more scared of her.
Yeah, she's been ambivalent about the new edition, I think.
We think there's been a bit of that, but also we think Noodle somehow picked up something awful and ended up with a stay in Kitty Hospital, I guess.
She had to go to Kitty Hospital. So she just started getting really poorly, which we think is gastroenteritis, but it's not nice having a cat in the house that's yakking and pooping everywhere. So
that's been a bit of something on our minds. It's all you've thought about.
It's driving me crazy.
And I think we've been sort of tackling that. That's been on our mind over the last couple of weeks, and kind of making sure that everyone gets on with each other in the house, making sure that Noodle isn't depressed about new kitten entering the arena. And also ensuring that she's fit and healthy, which is a key priority for us, because we love our pets and they're a part of our family, right?
Yeah.
So if you have pets, you'll know the feeling that takes up a lot of space. The other thing that we've been sort of trying to work out, and I think we've kind of got to a space where we're on the case of it, but certainly it really came to the front of our conversations, was actually about menopause and the effect that it's had on Mrs. H.
The missing mojo.
The missing mojo. To say that you've been feeling a little flat lately.
Yeah.
Is probably an understatement.
I mean, I want to talk about it, because in the past when we've devoted a whole episode actually to the menopause, I think that was really important because, I can't be the only person in the world ever to go through it, right? And lots of other people, I think, can relate to the various highs and lows that it takes you down. So the menopause for me has been around now for about 4 years, I think. It's been going on, and I've got HRT, which manages most of the symptoms. But what it doesn't do so well is manage the libido. And the libido is really quite a major aspect, I think, because it's made me really flat, I think is the best way I can describe it.
I think you've been less interested in generally having sex.
Yeah.
Less interested in having adventures, coupled with your sort of general approach to the whole lifestyle stuff anyway. I think it's made it quite a challenge. And I don't think we'd quite realised until we got to sort of cap, I suppose, quite how bad that had become for you. And it really dawned on me how you were just not yourself, you were not enjoying it. And I think it was a slow descent into that pit of lack of libido. And for us, it was like a realization that actually we need to do something about it, and we need to help you and get you the right medication.
And that's the positive thing, because at least there is some cognizance on my part, certainly, which is important, because if I'm not cognizant that it's missing, then I don't want to do anything about it, right? But I am cognizant that it's not me and it's missing, and I do want to fix it.
I think you've kind of gone on not thinking about, and other things have been going on in our lives. I mean, we don't obviously spew up everything that's going on in our lives on the podcast, but we do talk about a lot of stuff. And I think when you couple some of those more difficult life things, sort of sex took a bit of a backseat for you particularly, or you'll want to have sex. And actually when we started going to CAP, and we've been to a few other things recently, we found that your drive to kind of explore and go out and have adventures was really low and really diminished. And I think this has also impacted your sort of ability to, or want to go out and have fun with even friends that we already had. Yeah. It's not, we've had a few actually recently, a few really fun successes and a few really good nights out and reconnections with friends, and made some new connections. And that's been really, really positive. But I think the effort that it takes you, and I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to talk on your behalf, but
no, you're fine.
I think you've had to almost drag yourself out of a bit of a pit to get into the space where you feel like you want to have a sexy adventure.
Yeah, it's high effort, and I have to really, really think about putting myself into a more positive mindset. And it's not just about pulling myself together and, this is just life. To some extent, there is that, and life can throw things at you all the time, which can knock you back. But when you've got the very obvious hormone imbalance, I think, which is a huge drag factor, it's even harder to drag yourself out of that. And my default setting, I think, has been very much, I just don't want to do anything. I just want to sit and doom scroll and retreat into myself and just wear my pajamas and do nothing, because that's the easy option, right? And it's easy to just let yourself exist in that space without actually wanting to do anything about it. But I want to do something about it because I don't like feeling like that, as much as it's an easy state to get into. And secondly, I don't like the way it must make you feel. And I say must make you feel because I don't feel that, because it's not there. So it's hard sometimes to think, well, this is what I should be feeling, because the feeling has gone. And it's really, really difficult to be aware of the fact that how did it feel before it was gone?
I think the other thing that I want to point out is that it's not just sexy adventures. It's literally getting off the sofa.
It's
just moving and lifing. And I think with, it's fair to say that work hasn't been the easiest for you for a little while.
Yeah.
And that it's been busy and there's been a lot of stuff going on. And I think that, coupled with the lack of drive, has meant that when you come home, you like getting you off the sofa is
I just want to switch off.
Yeah, even going to like say no's or whatever is a challenge. So having an adventure and going seeing friends, seeing friends you're okay
seeing friends
with.
Is always really lovely, because I know that it's something I genuinely look forward to. It's more the effort of making myself feel something that is not there in the best way possible.
We're doing something actively, right?
Yeah.
So we're tackling this
energy.
More energy, more passion. We're tackling this in a couple of ways, I think. And we know that like a doctor's route in terms of sorting out the right level of meds is ultimately kind of, I think, where we need to focus on.
Yeah.
And you had a doctor's appointment today. You had to wait a month for that. Good old NHS, they're doing the best they can. Now they're talking to their
gynecology team and referring something on. And I know that not all GPs are experts in their field around HRT and menopause, because it's, it's not everyone's area of sort of specific knowledge, but there are people out there who can, hopefully. And I'm hopeful that we can either tweak the meds I do take or add something new into it, or at least do something.
Yeah.
To try and lift it or rebalance it a little bit. Because the thing I'm most aware of, I think, is the fact that as we've got older, and I appreciate as you get older, things naturally could decline a little bit anyway, because you don't have the same level of energy you had like 10 years ago. But things for you don't feel like they've declined in that area, you're still kind of the same because you're not going through a menopause. Whereas for me, there's such a disparity now with where I'm at and where you're at. I've obviously very much changed and you have not, or at least not to the extent that I have.
I think and part of it as well is that as I've got more confident, and not that you think it on the podcast necessarily, but as I feel a bit more confident and a bit more body conscious and confident as well, I'm like, this is like my time.
You want to go out and celebrate.
Yeah, and
right?
I want to, make the most of that. And I think you do want to do that, but your ability to get off and I'm using the term get off the sofa, but the get out, get ready, the be excited about something isn't as strong as it used to be. So I think we're looking at that from a doctor's perspective, and I think that's going to be an ongoing saga. It's not quite as simple as go in and get treated. There's a time process to that.
Yeah, here, give me some sex pills.
Yeah.
Lady Viagra.
Putting Spanish fly in your coffee every morning has not helped.
It's really not quite the same thing. No. I recognise there might well be a considered approach to what we do next with it, but at least we're doing something and we're exploring options.
I'm expecting a bit of trial and error and balance adjustment. I think the other thing that you're doing as well, so I mean, you have been sort of losing weight, you've been sort of making yourself feel more attractive.
And that is good, because I do feel better.
And you've started training again, which is good. I think that will help sort of boost your overall sort of energy and get you into good space. But these are all things that are sort of happening alongside the medical bit, which I think is ultimately the bit that will help get your sort of chemical imbalance a bit better. Well, at least I hope so. That is my hope. And we've spoken to enough friends who have been through similar processes and had that are in that field of medication and whatnot, and certainly seem to think there is stuff that will be able to help you. So that's a really positive thing. I think on top of that, we've also had, and I'm really conscious that lots of our recent stuff has been not moany necessarily, but talking about some big picture things. And I really want to stress that we are also having a tremendous amount of fun and sexy encounters as well.
We are.
And I think some of that has been with couples where we've known them or we are getting to know them. And that's been really fun. We had a really sexy encounter where we've had a few quite recently.
We have.
I've also had solo dates as well, or a solo date.
Yeah, you have had a couple of those.
Which is fun. And you've got one booked in as well.
I do.
So I think there's been lots of good stuff that's been happening when you've been able to get your mind in that space. And I think that's it. I really want to stress that it's not just us sitting in the corner kind of over reflecting and wallowing in it. We're trying to do as much as we can about it, but we are being realistic about how quickly we can resolve that stuff and how quickly we can get into a space where we're not back to normal, but where we've found what we want our new normal to be and sort of gone through that process a bit. I think it's also really important to say that we do continue to have conversations and we do continue to talk about all of these things. So things like CAP, where, there were some really sexy encounters, but there were also some moments where we asked ourselves the question, are we shit swingers? And it's been really fascinating talking to other people about that experience, and a number of people that we know that are in our chat groups and different spaces that we're in have echoed the same thoughts and gone through the same processes. So it's nice to know that it's not just us being dickheads, actually, though that may well be the case. It's been really good to sort of see that people go through that as well. Yeah,
it's relatable. I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, if you don't score, then you can't be very good at what you do. But, the same could be said for anything. If you make a mistake, it doesn't mean you have to write it off and assume that you're just bad at it. You just try it again a different way.
Absolutely. And I think it's been really interesting sort of just going through this stuff and really recognizing where some of the more challenging things are coming from, and understanding actually that some of it is just our approach and is just the way that you and I operate, and the differences in that, but some of it's literally medical issues that we're sort of trying to solve.
Trying to fix those. And
I think that's been a really, really valuable discussion for us to kind of have. And continue to have. And obviously, as we go through along the podcast, we'll keep you updated on that, on those situations and how we're doing. But we'd love to hear from you if you've experienced similar things, if you've had doubts about your approach, if you're not felt comfortable, or even if you kind of been going through menopause and come out the other side, or you've found better ways of dealing with things, we'd love to hear from you, because that advice is super helpful to us right now. We've been through that. Because I don't want us to get to the phase where your approach, Mrs. H, I think, part of your solution to this is to go, well, he can just go out and do a thing because I'm not bothered. Well, it's as exciting as it is for me to go out and have a solo adventure, and I've had some really exciting ones. I love having my experiences with you, and doing this with you is the best part of all of this.
And I think we did have a bit of a conversation where I recognised that I will allow myself to get into a space where it is easier to say, okay, I know my headspace is definitely not where it needs to be. So why didn't you just go and do that? And I'm saying it with no malice or no jealousy or no kind of, oh, fine, this is the easier option. It's come from a place where I don't want you to not have positive experiences just because I'm not necessarily going at the same pace. But I don't want that to be the default setting and the easy solution. I want to be able to get that disparity to be much easier to navigate. And I don't want it to be like that. I want to have those shared experiences with you, because that's what we enjoyed before. And I know we can do it again. And we do still have times where we do enjoy a shared experience. I just recognise that it takes me a bit longer to get to that point where I want to do it. But that's not to say that you're making me do it or anyone's forcing me into anything. My God, no one can make me do anything I don't want to do. You know that.
Well, I know that, but it's
really don't.
I guess the challenge is that people take out what they want when they listen to the podcast, and that's totally fine. I think what I did want to mention. So we met up with some friends recently, right?
Yeah.
And we had a lovely time around the house. We just chilled out, and we were chatting away. And what was I found really fascinating, actually, was that your ability to spot sort of sexy conversation and hints and subtlety. And I mean, sometimes you're absolutely spotting it, but this particular instant, I think because you're not looking for sexy times.
No, it's not occurring to me.
It's absolutely going through your head. It's like when you're a kid, right? And I don't know about you, but like my sister, you're wondering where this is going now, right?
Yeah.
Used to watch loads of films that were utterly inappropriate for her when she was like 10, 11.
All right.
Like
the Pirate King.
Like Ghost, I suppose, like Grease.
Okay. Yeah.
Like,
right.
Like Dirty Dancing is Overboard. These films with a lot of, with a bit of sex in them and a lot of innuendo and a lot of stuff that's probably not appropriate for kids, for younger kids that are 10, 11 or whatever, maybe a bit younger than that, maybe even 8 in her case. And then not knowing and realizing that there are sexy bits in there because your brain isn't looking for those bits, so you just gloss over it. And then when you go back and watch them as an adult, you go, holy fuck, Grease is like, it's got, it's a real pussy wagon, you'd be getting lots of tit and all this stuff, and that's just one fucking song. And Grease 2 has a fucking hand job scene, and I'm like, and Dirty Dancing obviously is quite a sexy film, but if you're watching it through the lens of a child who doesn't understand sex, then you probably miss a lot of the thing. And I think, not that I'm calling you a child in any shape or form, but I think because you weren't thinking about sex, you weren't picking up on the conversation and all the hints that are being dropped. And then because they live a little bit further away, so we'd had to travel there, and you had to work the next day. Well, we both had to work, but you had to get up at 6 a.m. or something. And it got to, we'd agreed on the way home that, 11:30 or whatever, that we'd leave and go home. We hadn't mentioned that to them because it was just a conversation that we'd had in the car. Now, I thought you were picking up on all these signals and you were just leaning into the flirty conversation or whatever. And you literally got to 11:30 and you slapped your knees in that great British tradition. You're like, right, I'm off now. We're going to go. Bye. And they looked, I'm going to say disappointed is probably the phrase, but what I thought we were having all these nice conversations. And then at that point, I was
realised that it just was going
It
in my
was
head.
just, yeah. So I had to do a translate for them and a translate for you. So I sort of, I was like, am I reading this correctly? And that there's been lots of flirty conversations across the room, and that you folks are very much interested in having some sexy times with us. And Mrs. H's sort of announcement about going at 11:30 has been a complete surprise and shock, because you thought this was all leading up to a naughty adventure.
And
before,
I didn't read the signals.
And you didn't read those signals in the slightest.
I did not.
Fortunately, we negotiated. After a good, ironically, like a good half an hour, 40 minutes of talking, you were like, "Well, we can have 30 minutes, and then we have to go." So actually, that was a really fun, sexy thing to do. It was like, right, we're setting a timer. We have to be out of the house before the timer goes off or whatever, and then it was on, and that was really hot. It was really sexy. They're both really hot, really fun to play with. It was a really sexy time.
Turns out efficiency can be sexy.
Yeah, and it was. She even managed a little bit of dirty talking there. I was like, wow, this is hot. I'm definitely going to finish within half an hour. So,
but you're right. It was lost on me because my mind was not even remotely in a sexy place.
Yeah, and I think because of that, you just weren't seeing any of those things going on until I literally, and what I should have done, or what we all should have collectively have done when we got there, is go, hey folks, or even before we got there, is this a sexy night? If so, we need to leave by 11:30, so let's make sure we build some of those sexy times in. Not to say that talking to them wouldn't have been fun, or just like catching up with them wouldn't have been an amazing evening, but I think it was really clear throughout the course of the evening, lots of like wonderful hints about underwear, and them like, oh, we're not going to a club on whatever day. We're going to see you. We're seeing you folks tonight.
You're quite subtle.
It was subtle. If it's subtle enough for me to pick up on it, then and I'm about as subtle as a brick, I guess.
It was subtle. It wasn't overt flirting, but I understand. I do understand. I kind of missed a lot of the signals.
So, I think that's just.
That's
even
just indicative of where we are with my headspace. Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely true. And I think even for us, it's like, I need to be like, right, I'm going to fuck you now. This is where we're going. Like the sexy times is on, right? And you're like, oh yeah, that'll be good. I like that. And you're like happy that you're having sexy times, but the thought of having sexy times has not been considered by you.
No. And if anything, what I really don't want to do is get to a point where I fear it. And I don't mean fear as in, oh my God, I hate sex, but more fear the effort of getting myself to that point. And that's the fear.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the fear of you doing a sit-up, which is terrifying, but the fear of some jiggery pokery sex must be terrifying.
Yeah, and I don't know why it's become such an uphill struggle, other than obviously I'm low on energy, and I don't know, it just all feels like a monumental emotional effort, and I just don't feel like I've got the emotional bandwidth to get myself through it sometimes, and I don't want to fear that. I want to get back to a point where I enjoy it.
I may not be able to carry this ring, Master Frodo, but I can carry you. So I can help you with this. I'll do my very best to help you cross that line.
Well, the good thing is we're both working together.
Both wanking together.
To get, God, I don't even do that. It's really sad. We're working together to achieve a good outcome that benefits us both in a good way.
I think so, and I think it was really important to me that we kind of talked a little bit about this and shared some
really
of that insight.
important because it explains some of the context of where our conversations have been and why we're kind of in a bit of a weird funk at the moment.
But I think sometimes we don't know what the deal is ourselves. So when we come on the podcast and we're recording it, we are literally having this conversation for the first time and kind of working it through in our brains. And often, with life being what it is, with poorly pets and crap work and all the other stuff that goes on.
That's life.
That is just life. But that makes it harder to find time to sit down and kind of talk about some of that stuff. Whereas this is our time where we kind of go, okay, this is where we're at. And this is, let's work this through on air and share it with everyone.
I'll save some of your caucus for you then.
Oh, good. Well, you normally do.
I'll just wait. I'll just store them all up, and every 2 weeks, I'll unleash another conversation on you. Like, we're having this conversation for the first time.
Just a shame that none of your jokes at the end are corkers. I mean, that's the thing, right? I know that.
Nothing's funny enough.
Oh, bless you. So the other thing that we wanted to talk about today, let's move on, right? Let's get on to the main topic. Well, I say the main topic, the topic of which we've got like 30 minutes left to talk about.
Okay.
So we finally caught up with season 3 of Open House. So if you don't know what Open House is, it's a bit like Playboy Swing. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically a couple go into a house full of swingers with a view that they might try swinging. And I was pleased to see, like this time around, there was a bit more variety, a bit more difference in there. But the idea is the couples go in and they kind of normally do like an activity. In this case, it's normally like a soiree, a social thing, a
themed party,
whatever. And they get set tasks by what I'm going to call a coach.
I think technically she is a non-monogamy
coach.
Chaos
Goblin.
She is a non-monogamy coach.
And
I believe
so
that's what she is.
They get some advice from, they talk about their feelings and what they're trying to get out of it. Then they get some advice from this person and off they go and explore ethical non-monogamy through a variety of different lenses depending on what they're looking for.
And then they come back the next day and talk to this woman again.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how did it go? Yeah. And then at the end of the episode or at the end of their journey, then they do this is where they ended up. This is what they did with it.
So the concept there is quite sound.
Yes, it is exactly the same as Playboy Swing.
With a safe set of boundaries.
Yeah.
You try a variety of things in a safe environment, and then you have presumably an expert to guide you through this, talk to you, and then talk to you again.
Yep.
So conceptually, that is good.
I need to get a couple of things on the table before we go into this. Number one, I've watched the first couple of seasons of Open House.
We did.
The first season in particular, I thought was the advice that they gave was quite dangerous in terms of couples exploring ethical non-monogamy. I didn't like the balance of mostly content creators being in the house. So a lot of very attractive people in there. But I also, flip side of it, understand that for the most part, the people that are out and open in the swinging lifestyle are the people who content create. Yeah. Same way in that us being on TV shows, we did it because we're face out and we create content, albeit our content is a podcast and not OnlyFans or whatever. So there was a lot of that. I'm also very, very aware that TV can be a cunt.
Oh my God.
Right? And let me explain what I mean by this.
Wow, you dropped the C-bomb.
I dropped the C-bomb there. And
you feel that strongly.
I feel that strongly about TV being a bit
You're
of a
right.
cunt.
It is clickbaity and it's done for ratings to some extent.
It's done for ratings and it's done for people to watch it because they've got advertising to sell. Now, this is a Channel 4 programme, so we know that there will be 42,000 ad breaks in it, which drive me mad. You could pay to remove them, but I'm not doing that. It's Channel fucking 4. But I am very aware that the people that go on, right, they don't have a say in what's shown about them. This gets edited and it goes out.
And you don't necessarily get an approval.
You don't.
Before it airs.
I would be stunned if they got an approval process. If anyone in there, they have probably signed their life rights away to be on the television show like we did, and they don't get a say in how they are presented. Which, if you're a bit of a control freak like me, is a worry. I also want to point out that TV will alter the narrative depending on what it needs to do, what it needs to sell, and how much time there is. So there might have been thousands of conversations with the psychiatrist that went on behind
and days and days and days and days of filming.
Yeah, there might
for very little footage.
Yeah, and there might well have been a whole load of conversations and things that happen behind the scenes that we don't see. So I'm very conscious that people that have been in that are probably going, well, that's not what happened, or that's not fair. This is how it was, or you've misinterpreted that. And they've added music and they've added commentary or whatever that unfairly sets the scene as to what perhaps these people were doing. So I'm very mindful of that.
Yeah.
However, as a viewer, because I wasn't involved in this and you weren't involved in this, I can only judge it on what's presented back to me. So I want to really make that clear. So we've been in the position because we did a couple of TV shows. The narrative wasn't what we agreed. We didn't know what was going to be on there until it was shown. I wouldn't say that we were treated unfairly because I thought we came out okay, but I was very annoyed and frustrated at the lack of bits that I wanted to be in there that weren't included in there. At least of own our podcast
You're right.
and stuff.
They have manipulated the narrative to suit the perception of the show they're putting out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to get that straight.
And that's probably what's happened with this.
Now, I think if you are good things first, right? Things I thought that were good.
I had some good things too, many.
Well, actually, do you know what? I think there is a really strong good thing about this.
Okay.
The strongest thing is that it exists at all.
Oh, I had that too.
I think this, getting swinging and ethical non-monogamy on the screen and giving people an opportunity to watch it and then maybe have a spark of, oh, I'd like to try that, or I might like to partake in that, or, oh, wow. Or just by the very token of normalizing it by putting it on television, however titillating it might be sold, it is, repetition of something being on screen or of a topic normalizes it, at least in a small way. And I think the fact that it exists and has done that is fantastic. It has given people a reason to look at swinging and ethical non-monogamy and explore it, or at the very least talk about it. The conversations that have happened with people that were already on the fence, it's great for them to watch it and go, what would we have done in that situation? I think that in itself is invaluable. Now, my counterpoint to that is, does it display the lifestyle and swinging and ethical non-monogamy as I see it, and also how I'd want it to be displayed? And I guess the answer is not quite, not really. The advice from the life coach I felt was so far off and so wrong that it was really dangerous to relationships. Her answer seemed to be, well, you've come in to explore this as a couple. Now go your separate ways and fuck someone tonight. You've got trust issues. Well, the way you solve that is by both of you going and doing something different and fucking somebody else.
Yeah.
And it felt like that was always the solution. Now, I don't know if that's done for drama or if that's genuine life advice. Because I think if someone had said that to us at the start of our journey, we'd have just gone, fuck off, and probably walked out there.
Or worse, if we had pursued it because it was advice given in good faith by an expert, and we had gone off and tried something that then proved to be really detrimental to us, chances are we would have ended our journey right there.
Or ended our relationship.
Ended our relationship right there, because that wouldn't have worked for us. Now, we know that because we know that as a couple we've got a really solid foundation. But, for people who are much, much newer to this or haven't been together as long or already have some trust issues, and I think that's the key bit for me, if there's trust issues already or some trauma or some linked past that is going to cause issues further down the line as soon as you involve other parties into your relationship, then surely the last thing you do is say, how you just have a wingman all the time that looks out for you and you've got this together, but actually no, don't do that. Part ways, go off and do your thing.
This is the thing.
That felt really, really damaging.
And the first episode is particularly bad with this. There's a couple
very much
where
an explosive kind of, this is what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, the couple where he's had affairs before, an affair before, whatever. She's got some trust issues, so they separate them out, and basically he ends up in bed with 6 women. Or whatever it is.
And she goes back to the room on her own.
Yeah, and it's very, very
predictable, really.
Well,
in its outcome
in a way, it's predictable, but it's also it's a compelling watch, but it's also not a good watch, and it also makes you really resent the way that this coach has kind of gotten them to do this. Now, you could argue, I suppose, that by separating them and showing that they can come back together, you are sort of building trust. But that's a really dangerous game, I think, to play with people's emotions. And I think that could have gone horrendously wrong. And we've seen that happen in other similar sort of shows.
Agreed.
So for me, there was a bit of that. One other thing I did like, though, a bit more diversity.
Oh, yeah. They had a gay couple.
Gay couple. Well, or
men.
There were two men that started off as a gay, same-sex couple rather than a gay couple. Because, bi couple now, I guess, maybe by the end of it. Who knows? I don't want to spoil alert here.
But it was good that they had the diversity to have something a little bit unorthodox, that we were expecting to see the same thing churned out again and again. And, she wants to pursue her bi side. And
I think...
And there was a same-sex couple, which was wonderful.
I think there was also a little bit more diversity in the residents, but not a massive amount. And I think looking online, it seems like most of them have an OnlyFans or something similar that they're promoting.
Yeah.
But also, I think quite a few of the contestants or whatever they are. Contestants. Yeah, they didn't win anything. It's like Running Man or whatever. But the people that went into the house also seem to have been like, oh, we got an OnlyFans now, and now we're doing this. So I don't know how realistic it is that they went in. They may have gone in and already had this stuff. That maybe that they're doing it for attention. It may be that they're doing it to purely experience swinging in its weirdest form.
Yeah.
But it all felt very performative with a bunch of people that are all trying to get you to follow them on Instagram eventually. Yeah. And I think, I understand from a television perspective that actually it's really hard to get people to come out as swingers in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And if your job is basically hoofing your OnlyFans or your swinging site or whatever it might be, or
content creators and
if you're a
yeah.
content creator, then actually it makes sense for you to go on that. But I think that does breed a certain kind of person, and as a result I think that the attractiveness of the people in there was quite high, I felt, and it didn't feel as though that there were a mix of, not a massive mix of body shapes. There were a few, but not a massive, and there wasn't like a massive mix of different couple styles within the actual people that were in the house already. Now, again, they might well have been. They probably cut them out. There might have been the biggest diverse cast ever, but instead we chose to show the Friends version of that predominantly white cast, I guess, and predominantly attractive people. But maybe I'm just a bit more attuned to spotting that as we watch it. I think the other thing that drove me mad was just ad breaks in general, but that's another thing. What have you got written down, Mrs. H? Because you've got some notes here.
I mean, they're very brief notes because I don't make notes. I think if we're still talking about some vague positives, and I think there have to be, there are some. I would agree with all the ones you said so far, and I share that. I think there was some value to be had from the fact that there is a vaguely educational value, or an attempt to have some educational value going on here, in that it was a sort of fairly frank exploration of different relationship dynamics. And I think, this goes back to you saying the fact that it exists at all is admirable, because there really isn't enough media coverage of unorthodox relationships in a positive way.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that all of that was portrayed particularly positively, but the fact that it exists and it tried to, or that was the aim, I think, originally of the show, to try and showcase different relationships.
Bit of that, bit of titillation. I mean, Love Island exists, right? But it's not the perfect showing of relationships. So I get that this might be more on that scale rather than the reality documentary that shows it in a more positive light. Equally, the reality TV shows tend to be a little bit more drama-led than reality.
And then another vague positive, I suppose, is that some of the scenarios were relatable, I think, probably to some people. And although the execution of that may not have been, palatable to some of us, I think that there were some scenarios there that probably were relatable, particularly where people might say, oh my God, I had, issues with trust and some trauma and PTSD, and it's refreshing that they're trying to bring that into a spotlight in some way and attempt to deal with it, albeit the advice was questionable. And then I think the only other thing possibly that I can find in that is that it did mean that people potentially will go away and have some conversations off the back of what they've seen. Yeah. And that can only be a good thing, surely.
I think it's just those expectations being managed. So if you watch Open House and that is your only exposure and the only research that you do, and it's not purporting to be a guide to everything.
No.
But I think it kind of...
Stimulating conversation starter, maybe.
But if you go, right, I'm going to go to a club, your expectation versus the reality of what you might see is going to be probably quite different.
Yeah.
But it's been a really interesting one because we asked some of our sort of chat groups that we're in, like, what did they think?
Yeah, and very polarising views.
Yeah, so G and J69, good name, like it, said, hey up, it's a great show, but it seems that once you go on the show, it's straight to OnlyFans site and make any money off the lifestyle and then all over Instagram. Also, the way they set up the meets, 6 women and one man. This is setting the pair up to fail. The blonde hair lads seem to be in the lifestyle to sleep around, and when the partner isn't happy, he can use the lifestyle as an excuse. And I'd echo that, I think. And I said, I assume it's he, the show doesn't cover the full demographic of the lifestyle. The rules seem to be broken without the partner knowing there was boundaries. And I'd agree with that. It was set up really...
Again, it's assuming that there's always dysfunction that exists within non-monogamy, and that's a shame, but it uses that almost as a commodity driver to get the ratings.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Mrs. Red said, we love Open House, hilarious. We end up pausing it as we go and proper psychoanalyze the couples and their relationships.
It does make you do that.
I think there is...
You can't help but put yourself, in a similar position and go, oh my God, would we have done that? Or what they should have done is this. Like people watching a football match, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing with the ball? Not that I watch football, but I can only assume you just like trying to critique it.
Yeah.
That way.
I think so. We had another comment from the lovely couple we met and had the fun, not aware that the sexy times on the table.
The subtle flirting.
She said, regarding Open House, have only watched the first 2, but it's annoying that for both couples, they deliberately set their first experiences up to be a total car crash. And then in the second episode, actually give them what they wanted in the first place, only for that to work out much better. Who would have thought? Definitely need more normal people in there and less beautiful influencers. But obviously, we will watch the next one.
Well, this is the thing, and this is the interesting part, right? I think by the end of the season, I was getting a bit fatigued by it because it did feel like it was the same things perpetuated over and over. It's just the same concept, but with different people. And I was also fed up with the adverts. But however, the point was I did kind of find it cringeworthy, but compelling, awfully compelling, but also like, oh, this is terrible, but I kind of wanted to see what happened. So we just carry on watching this stuff because it's
but this is the thing with reality TV. I've seen you stuck to Married at First Sight and other things and watch those shows, and I think they do show a twisted version of reality.
The Australian version. I didn't like the British one.
Well, speaking of Australians, some Australian chums also wrote to us and they said...
they watched it?
They watched it. We're watching Open House. This must be the worst one yet for seeing people up for conflict or damage. And then she chimed in. I think she chimed in. It's fucking appalling.
Don't mince your words there.
And then he added, you should definitely do a rage podcast per episode, starting with having a coach, not a psych. What the fuck? I keep saying surely this is the avenue for people to sue them, knowing a coach is not equipped to dealing with the task underlying issues and could seriously fuck people up.
I mean, but this is the thing, right? You could come away from watching this season and immediately want to rant about it because, yes, there's some really divisive opinions and then some really stomach-churning moments of why are they doing this? And it will make you come away and want to yell at the TV. In fact, episode 1 did have us going, what is happening? Why would they do this? But again, if I try and find the positive in that, the fact that you're going to have a conversation about topics and things that maybe you wanted to talk about and haven't quite got the courage to do that, like, brilliant.
Is the formula right? And is it just that it's poorly executed?
Well, this is what I was trying to figure out as we went along.
And I think this is where it's at. I think if you had a proper psychologist, and I don't know what the credentials of that person was that's doing the coaching.
I Googled her. She's like, real life kind of non-monogamy coach.
I'm not entirely sure that I would trust her with relationship advice based on what I witnessed. Certainly knowing what I know of ethical non-monogamy, and I am not an expert by any stretch of the
You have lived experiences, and
I come from the school of hard cocks.
And to some extent, when you think back to our early days, if someone like that had trotted up and given you some advice like that, how would you have seen that differently? Because you didn't have the lived experience of knowing we found the way to do things together.
maybe, I think like a lot of couples get what they call a swinging Yoda, right?
Right.
Like this is how you swing, this is how we do it, this is how you should do it.
So,
And it does influence their approach. So if they're the swinging couple or Yodas that they get are particularly full on, then they only tend to end up being quite full on themselves. Because particularly if that couple coach them and help them, right?
Yeah, if that's the blueprint that you're faced with and it works for them and that's the way that they're finding swinging is generally to be.
But what we don't know, is it nature or nurture? Is it the fact that that's how they've been taught, or were they always going to be a rock up and fuck couple or whatever it might have been in the first place? So I do think that if you sorted the psychological advice and maybe have a team of people, have a psychologist, have a coach, and have someone that's been in the lifestyle for a long time. Not suggesting that would be me, that I would be fucking awful at that, but almost like a panel of people that, turn it into which one do you want? You can listen to all three of them if you want, or you can go for just one, phone a friend. Yeah, little group session. I think that might be a useful tool, or at least have them talking about some of the responses and what happens. I think that would be quite a good thing to do. I think having a more diverse cast in there would certainly be useful, but I recognise the difficulty that's there. I think also it feels like just a day and a night might be too short to explore stuff. I don't know.
And the thing that I don't know, and granted this is because I don't know enough about the show to understand, as you say, what kind of, and we know from experience that the amount of filming and pre-show work that goes into these things is probably vast, and they probably film it over many months or whatever it is, a period of time.
I imagine it's probably a weekend or something, or a couple of days for each couple.
So what we don't see, and what we probably will never see, is how much time, for example, that coach actually does spend with the couple in question, and how much of it they cut out and what they just show for the narrative that they want you to see.
Or does she say, "Oh, you want to spend time together? Right, go your separate ways. There you go, done. Boom."
So I've got a solution for this.
Let me look up my playbook of one thing that I can recommend, and that is do something separate.
Sadly, that's the perception we've gained.
Yeah, and that's
because that's what she kept trotting out.
But I wonder, right, who is editing this, and from what perspective, right?
Yeah.
So I know. So I think from what I remember, the sex education show, for example, right, had, I think, Alex Fox supporting it, at least for the first couple of seasons, right, with advice and understanding. So that show absolutely nails a lot of what happens and actually felt very, very real despite being a drama. I wonder who is editing the open house stuff and from what angle they're doing it. Are they doing it from the perspective of we want to show swinging as an interesting thing, or is the priority dial much more along the lines of this needs to be titillating and amusing and interesting, good, not just good television, but like
cringeworthy, compelling TV?
Yeah. And what is there a dial? Is it that the swinging bit is superfluous in terms of promoting and advocating for a lifestyle that we're very passionate about? Or is it much more about we've got some tickets to sell and some advert space to sell, so let's dial up that bit of it? Because I think the TV will be cut accordingly to what they're trying to do. And obviously there is only so much time. It makes no sense doing a 16-hour program on one couple's exploration of it. No. But I do wonder if there would be some benefit to having like a Big Brother's Big Mouth type thing where you actually see the psychological interview as a extra, or you get to find out a bit more, or you go back and speak to the couples, like, get like spend half an hour, 45 minutes just to, how was the experience for you? How did it go? What did you know before? What did you know afterwards? And talk to some of the people in the house, get them in there as well, and actually find out about them as human beings. Because as it stands, very few people in that show felt like fully explored and realised human beings. There were a couple of people that I thought were very good. The lady with the short hair was very good in terms of managing people's emotions. Some people came across a little bit predatory, but I think...
And that could just be the way that it's cut. Just, to kind of almost speed it along a bit and go, look what's happening now. We're at a party and this guy's looking for this.
We need to show this person coming on to that person.
Exactly.
So we show
and
that
it may
one.
not have been the reality to what we see. But I agree, occasionally there were a couple of people in there and amongst the residents of the house, but also occasionally in the couples themselves that appeared that actually seemed to have a really fairly good grasp of, good concepts. And I was like, oh, they're actually talking about sense. And sometimes the couple in question would take themselves away and have conversations that I actually felt were really good.
Yeah, I think
I'm like, you've got this. You know what to do for each other here. You've got each other's backs.
I did like the fact that they showed people saying no.
Yeah.
People being rejected.
Yeah.
And people saying, we're not ready for this, let's take ourselves away. And I think that was really important.
That was really sensible.
And
they did that.
Those were the moments where I really actually thought, well, fair play to you. They didn't really talk about rejection in the bigger sense, but it was useful showing that was a thing that happened.
Sometimes, and then what they do with that rejection and go, oh shit, I didn't really know what to do when I got this.
The flip side did feel like 95% of the crowd there were just literally down for anything. So and maybe that's just the way it's shot, but it did feel like someone would go, oh, shall we have an orgy? And everyone's like, yay, orgy, 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 and they'd all go off. Now, occasionally there were moments where people took themselves away from situations because they weren't feeling it, or someone was too nervous, or someone wasn't, forthright or whatever in their approach. And that helped balance that a little bit. But certainly the earlier episodes in that season, the third season, it felt very much like, oh, we're going to have an orgy now. Everyone's down for it. Here we go. Everyone's here. We're all going to do this thing now. And it was very much, it felt a little bit too hungry, a little bit too performative, but perhaps that's because that's not my experience of how this works. Maybe that's what everyone else has as an experience. You turn up and you go like, orgy, and everyone's like, yay, great.
Maybe that's what they were going for.
Maybe.
And maybe that's why the first episode was quite controversial, I think, in what happened and the issues that the couple had and the advice that the expert gave them. And maybe that's what they wanted, like go out with this is a launch of a show that you're going to want to tune in again and see what other car crash moments occur.
Because I imagine it's not been
all is quite as volatile as that first
No,
episode.
there were certainly some emotional bits and there were certainly some struggles that came up on camera and stuff. But
that
I think
guy kept throwing up because he was so nervous.
Oh, bless him. There was.
See, that's what I mean. I ended up by putting myself there going, oh my God, I feel so bad for this guy. You shouldn't. And I found myself going, oh my God, if you get to a point where you feel your body is physically reacting to the amount of stress it's feeling, then how can this be good for you?
But also, you have volunteered to do this on television.
I know.
And in front of a national audience and in front of all the cameras and all the different, and like in a house full of swingers. So you've kind of put the pressure on yourself, but equally, if it is affecting you that badly, then I did quite like, there were a couple instances I think where the person that was pushing heaviest for it was the biggest impacted and the most upset. And I quite like that recognition sometimes, because quite often there is, certainly in our experiences when we've run events and things like that, is sometimes it's normally the guy, right? It's normally a guy pushing for this. Yeah, it'll be great. We'll go out there, be loads of women, or I get to play with 2 women at once or whatever. And then their wife does really well and they go, oh, fuck, I don't have control of the situation. And unless they're massively turned on by the idea of their partner being with somebody else, then it becomes this crushing emotional moment. And there was certainly a couple of bits in this season that sort of brought that to life. So I think, like, overall, it was a mixed bag for me. I raged at the screen.
Yeah.
I definitely yelled at the screen.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that the coach was offering advice that really didn't fit with the situation, I think. I thought that the sort of diversity, whilst better, was not as good as it should have been. But I'm also really conscious that it's on television. It's giving good conversations. I know that there are people out there that absolutely rave about it and cite it as their reason for getting into swinging. So for that reason, I wouldn't go, right, this should be banned. I think it needs to be adjusted. But the reality is, I think if I were to do it, it would probably be really boring, because it would be like focus on all the emotional conversations and all that sort of stuff rather than all the naughtiness. But I do think that we need to see more of that stuff. and demonstrate that it's a really important part of it. I also think that it did kind of, none of these shows on swinging really look, I think, for what has, for me, has been the best part of it, which is the friendships, the connections, and the developments of relationships. Not like just sexual relationships and not, hey, we're poly now or whatever, but the
genuine good connections that you make and come back again for.
Yeah, these are my Bezzy mates now, and that I think was a slow burn shock for us, because actually we thought there might be some promised land in there. We thought we might meet some amazing people, but over the course of the years, we have met some mind-blowingly incredible people that change our lives on a daily basis.
Yeah,
and it's that doesn't sell television, right?
No, like it doesn't. It doesn't have any kind of shock factor, or I want to come back and see what awful things they get up to again.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just going, hey, we're our best mates again.
And that's the thing. I think what we need is almost like the Friends version or the Seinfeld version of Swingers, where they fuck each other.
And then all pile on the couch afterwards for
yeah,
coffee.
and then chill out and whatever. And you could really, that show could be a thing where they go off and have adventures, and the comedy is about their adventures with other people, and they're retelling it to their actual friends that they've made within the lifestyle. So that could be quite a fun. Maybe we'll go and write that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm still writing my own stuff. I've got tons of shit. How I Met Your
Mother.
Yeah,
there'll be 18 seasons of Mr. H's show.
Well, I mean, every other swinger show, like Swingers or whatever it was, with what's his name, Commander Norrington from Pirates of the Caribbean. That lasted one season. Great show. Really enjoyed it. There was no ending, no conclusion. There was no season 2. So what were we ever supposed to find out?
I'm just sitting now on season 3 of Mr. H's Swinger Show. Join him this week for where the friends go on a scintillating adventure to Bird World. Yeah, because this is all about good connection.
I'll go down on you because you're down on me too.
So you got it. You've got a theme song.
We'll try and manage that. I'll add that to the back burner. Put on the ideas that I've had that I'll never follow up. I've had a bit of a horror story in mind that I'm sort of mulling over.
Wait, a horror swinging story?
Yeah, like a hot wifey one. I thought that might be quite a fun one.
Is there a murder?
Yeah, murder. It's done a bad murder.
Is there an actual
yeah, but
Does
I'm trying
hot wife get murdered?
Well, that's what I'm sort of trying to figure out.
Are you thinking about a story?
Well, I was thinking about a story, but I think for me, there is an opportunity about the combination of that. Of like the three, the hot wife, the stag,
wait, is this
or whatever,
the thief, his wife, and a lover?
Well, it's like the bull, the cuck, and the hot wife, right? And I do think there is something within that connection of someone meeting different people and murders happening, and is like it'd be quite good. But I kind of want, and the trick is, I think, is that the cuck should be the hero. Because I think they've had a bad name. And I think, like, you were like, maybe, and this is perhaps me projecting, but cucks are typically seen as not so strong, the beta male or whatever. And actually, I think it would be quite an interesting thing if the cuck was the hero of the story.
The last girl.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know. So that was, funnily enough, I couldn't sleep very well, couldn't get off to sleep last night. Because I was like trying to fit together the plot on how that might. I was like, how could I? And I need to storyboard this in the the hero's journey or whatever.
Oh my god! So, only murders in a sex club. All right.
Well, no. I don't think it should be a sex club. I think that makes it too obvious. I think it needs. I mean, there could be a murder, but obviously you need to see a murder being committed at the start.
Maybe the cuck sees it all.
Well, this is the thing. Does the cuck see as like? Is it a bull that's going around that's killing all the hot wives, right? And then this cuck witnesses this guy, and he sees his wife die. Or I don't know. We could John Wick it. It'll be great.
Oh my god! Can we have John Wick in it?
Cuckwick, John Cuck, whichever way around. We'll workshop it. I'll get it right, and then I'll.
Well, you're not going to sleep again tonight because we're like, oh my god, it's all coming to life.
Is that how I get you to have more sex with me? Tell me another chapter. Yeah, right. You know what you got to do. Oh, you bastard!
I'm invested now. I want to know. Yeah, we're going to get a cast list together, and who's going to play the main parts?
The casts. Well, obviously,
who's going to be the hot wife?
Well, I don't know, but obviously,
I mean, there'll be a string
the
of hot
cuck has to be Pedro Pascal because he's in everything.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in. I'll
You're
watch
in.
this.
Okay,
I'll watch this.
That's fine. It'll be great.
That's a beautiful man.
There we go. But I reckon he could play like cowardly quite well, and like he needs to have the appearance of someone that it's not going to. But I don't know whether that would work for him.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you see. There we go. We need to, whoever it is, we need to get them before Marvel fucking pick them up and make them really fucking super buff.
I mean, we can't have Chris Hemsworth.
No, because that wouldn't work.
No,
Lord, no. Like as much as I'm trying to break tropes and stereotypes and whatever, I think the idea of him going after people as a cook probably doesn't. I mean, that's a good breaking boundaries type thing, but story wise, less cool.
Can you have Paul Rudd as like the bull?
No, he's too
this
nice.
Tiny man. It's really nice, just going around like murdering hot wives.
That doesn't work. We need to workshop this properly. Anyway.
Oh my god, we really need to do this.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, let's move on.
Okay. Well, there's not much else to say. I think Open House. I think seek it out, watch it on Channel 4. If you've got opinions, let us know about it. We'd be really interested to see what you thought and whether you took anything. And if you got your break, if that's how you discovered swinging, or let us know. And we'll.
And the good thing, as you say, that exists about this is that everyone will have an experience of some sort they will either, vehemently disagree with or go, no, I can relate to some of these parallel concepts and I want to, tell you about the good stuff that it meant to me. So let's hear
What did you learn from Open House? I learned that Channel 4 has too many fucking advert breaks. That's what I know. I don't do terrestrial television. That's the thing. It's stupid. Why do I do it? Even streaming it had fucking adverts all over the place. Anyways, thank you for joining us today. Mrs. H, do your thing.
Thank you for hopping into our bed.